Thank you. That's a beautiful film, and it's not necessarily the film we expect to watch at the beginning. And that's one of the things about your films, that often they go in a different direction. Hélène Vincent, can I ask you a question first? I wonder what it was like. This is a film with so many gaps, so many things that we don't hear and that we don't see and that we have to guess for ourselves. What was it like reading a script like this?
Lire ce scénario, c'était une divine surprise. Parce que, effectivement, ce personnage est omniprésent. C'est l'âme de ce film, de cette histoire. Et j'en croyais pas mes yeux, je vous assure. C'était une chance absolument inattendue. Voilà. Donc, je vous en prie. Ah oui, je parle trop longtemps. Ah, pardon. Ah oui, pardon, excusez-moi, j'ai pas l'habitude.
Reading the script was a divine surprise, because this character is omnipresent. It's the soul of the film, and I honestly could not believe it. It was such an amazing opportunity.
And what was it about the character, or about the script, or about François that made you decide that you wanted to do it?
Pardon?
Qu'est-ce que c'était dans ce personnage, dans ce script que vous avez lu, qui vous a donné envie de travailler sur ce film?
Ce qui m'a donné envie de jouer ce personnage, mis à part la connaissance que j'avais de la qualité du travail de François Ozon, ce personnage-là, c'est rare de proposer un rôle aussi important à une femme, entre guillemets, âgée. Et c'est encore plus surprenant et rare de lui offrir un personnage de femme aussi puissamment vivante, malgré tout, malgré les années, et aimante et curieuse et intrigante, hein, mais voilà, c'est un personnage d'une complexité inouïe. Pardon?
Beside the actual knowledge of the quality of the work of François Ozon, I thought it was really unusual to offer a part like this to a woman, quote unquote, older, and yet a person who is so strongly alive despite the advancing years, a woman who is so loving, so curious, so intriguing.
François, you have always made films about women of different ages. Most of your films, I think, are about women, or women are central, and often you've made films featuring women who are, quote unquote, older. So what was specific that you wanted to do in this one?
Yes, it was the challenge was to make a film with old actresses who are the lead actresses, who are the lead characters of the story, because I think all women are invisibilized in the cinema, especially in the French cinema, and I wanted to have real women who accept their age. I know how it's difficult for a woman, especially for an actress, to age on screen, but this time I wanted to work with actresses who assume they were 80 years old for Hélène, 70 years old for Josiane, and they're beautiful as they were. So I didn't want plastic surgery. That means that. And actually, I think wrinkles can be beautiful on screen. Now we are not used to see real expressions on faces, especially with American actresses, French actresses too. I hope there are not French actresses here. So the idea was to show the life of this woman, retiring, having a beautiful end of life in the countryside in Burgundy, and to follow them and to try to play with the contrast of apparently perfect granny. Do you say granny or grandmother? Grandmothers, and who hide the past and who have who have a special life, a special past, and I like this contrast with the beautiful face, very nice of Hélène, and maybe her dreadful past.
Mm-hmm. But the two women's past, it's really interesting because obviously this week everyone is talking about Anora and its success in the Oscars, but it's something, talking about sex workers is something that's unusual in American cinema, but it's never been that unusual in France. It's sort of...
We love sex workers.
Yeah.
More than American, maybe. Mm. Yes. Yes, for me it was important, to show first the toxic relationship between the mother and the daughter, and one way to explain it was the past of Michel that Valérie doesn't accept. She refused really the life of her mother. It's impossible for her to forgive her. At the opposite of Marie-Claude's son, who is more, he understands more his mother, and he considers maybe his mother was a victim and it was not a choice. And what was your question?
Well, I think you've answered it in a way.
Okay.
We can maybe talk about that more later.
About sex worker, and actually, I read during the process of the script some articles about children of sex worker, how it was difficult to deal with that, and I was very interested to read the reaction you can have as a child when you realize your mother has such a work, and how you deal with that.
And do you talk to people as well? Is that something you do when you make films? Do you research them?
Sometimes, yes.
And in this case?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. There is also an element, I know, that there is an autobiographical seed in this film because something actually happened to you with mushrooms as a child that you picked up on in this film.
Yes, actually I had a grand aunt I loved as a child, and she organized a family dinner. And she picked up some mushrooms in the forest close to her house, and she cooked the mushrooms for the dinner, and everybody was sick. Some members of the family went to the hospital, except my aunt, because she didn't eat the mushrooms she had cooked. And as a child, I was not there, I was not invited, I was too young. My parents remember very well, because they were very sick and very upset against my aunt. And for me, I loved my aunt because as a perverse child already, I imagined my aunt tried to kill all the family, and it was for me, it was my fantasy. So, but I know now the children of my aunt are very upset against me because I told so much this story in France. So,
Hélène, let me ask you about the other actors in this film. You have very close complicity with three of them in particular. So let me ask you first of all about Josiane Balasco, because you were both in François' earlier film, Grace of God. And I believe that you really bonded as partners, as friends on this film.
Pardon, excusez-moi. On n'avait jamais travaillé ensemble, Josiane et moi.
Vous étiez dans le même film et vous
Mais
aviez pas
on
de scène
était dans
ensemble.
le même film, mais on n'avait pas de séquence ensemble. On ne s'était même pas croisés dans le local où on était maquillés, habillés, etc. Je la connaissais, je l'avais vue jouer dans des films, je l'avais vue jouer aussi au théâtre. Mais on était dans des territoires du théâtre extrêmement différents. Josiane a fait partie d'une troupe mémorable et s'est orientée du côté du théâtre privé. Moi, j'étais dans des troupes mémorables aussi, mais du côté du théâtre subventionné par l'État. Donc, ça ne matchait pas, ça. Eh bien, quand on s'est rencontrés, pour la première lecture où François nous avait tous rassemblés. Vous me dites quand je m'arrête. Il y a eu une espèce d'élan du cœur spontané. Et je me suis sentie incroyablement à l'aise avec Josiane. Et j'ai eu l'impression qu'on allait faire quelque chose de très beau ensemble et de très doux. Et c'est ce qui est arrivé.
Actually, we had no scene together in For the Grace of God. We had not even crossed paths in hair, makeup, costumes, or anything. Obviously, I had seen her on stage, but we did come from very, very different areas of the theatre. She very famously ended up in private theatre, whereas I came from public theatre. And so when we met for the first time, this was for the first reading of the film, I felt our hearts met. I immediately felt at ease with her, and I felt that we would create something really beautiful and sweet, which we did.
De façon générale, d'ailleurs, on s'est tous incroyablement bien entendus, mais on a tous été happés, tenus, rassemblés par le scénario écrit par François. Il y avait tout ce qu'il fallait pour qu'on soit en relation les uns avec les autres et qu'on s'accepte vraiment.
We all got along really well during the shooting. It was amazing, but we all felt that we were held together by this amazing script that François wrote, and all was there for us to connect and be together on it.
You also have this fantastic rapport with Pierre Lotin, who plays Vincent, who is a new discovery for British audiences, but in France he's known from the series Les Truches, and also the film The Marching Band, which is coming out here soon. So maybe you could both talk a bit about him and how he's seen by French audiences and how he works in this film.
Donc votre relation avec Pierre Lotin et comment il est vu par le public français, comment il travaille.
Alors Pierre Lotin, moi je l'avais vu dans une séquence d'un précédent film de François qui s'appelle Grâce à Dieu, et je n'avais pas oublié cette séquence-là. Pourtant le film était important et cette séquence était relativement au début de l'histoire. J'ai été absolument stupéfaite et bouleversée par la puissance de cet acteur, par sa façon de lâcher et comme ça. C'est rare pour un homme de se laisser aller comme ça à l'émotion. C'était une scène extrêmement émouvante.
I had seen Pierre Lotin already in For the Grace of God, and he was in a scene at the beginning of the film, but I could not forget him. I was absolutely astounded and very moved by the power of his acting, and it's incredibly rare for a man to be able to let go and to give into emotion.
Et sur le film, là, quand j'ai su qu'il était dans le film, j'étais absolument enchantée. C'est un acteur assez imprévisible. C'est un homme imprévisible aussi, d'ailleurs. Il a une profondeur étonnante. Il a dans le regard quelque chose qu'il voit et qu'il ne voit pas. Je ne sais pas comment l'expliquer. C'est un partenaire formidable, vraiment. Et j'ai eu la chance depuis de retourner avec lui dans un autre film. Et je suis de plus en plus fascinée, vraiment, et admirative de ce jeune homme tellement étonnant.
And when I knew he would be in this film, I was absolutely elated that we would be shooting together. He's incredibly unpredictable, both as an actor and a man, but he's got such depth, a depth that's really difficult for me to put into words. But he makes a fantastic acting partner, and I've also acted with him in another film since, and he's absolutely fascinating.
François?
Oui, nous avions déjà travaillé ensemble. C'est un acteur que j'aime beaucoup, qui est un peu compliqué à diriger, mais qui est tellement généreux, qui est tellement dans la proposition que c'est passionnant de travailler avec. Ah pardon, je parle en français. Oui, bon, voilà.
Whichever.
I'll do it. I had already worked with him, and I absolutely love working with him. He's quite hard to direct, but he's such a generous and giving actor.
And you know, as I hinted at the beginning, it's a film that goes in different directions, and it starts off, and you think it's going to be quite a sort of quiet domestic drama, and then it doesn't become a genre film exactly, but I know you've talked about Simenon. I know you've talked, and clearly, you know, there are sort of. It's hard not to see echoes of Chabrol as well. So it's kind of a thriller in a way.
Yeah, it's a very slow thriller.
Slow thrillers are good.
Slow thriller. I don't know exactly what is the genre of the film. I didn't have in mind a typical genre. My inspiration was a little bit Simenon, because he's an author who describes very well the atmosphere of the small city, village in France, and everything seemed perfect, and behind the curtains, terrible things happen. And I liked this idea, and especially shooting in Burgundy, which is a place I love, where I spent a lot of time as a child, to show the beauty of the nature of this small village. It was important for me. And at the same time, they are real person, and they are not angels. Like everywhere, like in England, you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have a tradition of weird things happening in small towns and villages.
Yeah,
the
film could have happened in England.
Yeah, well, I know you're also a Ruth Rendell fan, etc.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have time for some questions, and we're going to try and gaze out beyond these very bright lights. I see one hand right down there. Go ahead. Hold on, there's a microphone coming, I think. Is there? Oh, okay, yeah, please go ahead, then we'll move down. Yeah.
I'm slightly impressed by François Ozon's work rate. How does he manage it?
J'ai pas compris.
Très impressionné par le ratio de votre travail que vous fournissez. Comment vous y arrivez?
I love to make movies. That's simple, and I'm lucky to make films which were successful enough to make the next one. So that's so simple.
And you are also your own producer as well?
For this film, yes, because it was a low budget. It was possible to make it easily, and I didn't want to have a producer on my shoulders. I didn't want to explain him what I wanted to make. I wanted to feel free, and it was perfect.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Merci François, merci Hélène, ça me touche beaucoup que vous soyez là. Je me suis beaucoup ennuyée à l'école. Là on est à l'Institut français, mais on est juste à côté du lycée français. Et j'y étais pendant des années, et votre cinéma m'a vraiment nourri l'esprit. Je regardais notamment The Swimming Pool avec Charlotte Rampling après mes cours, et voilà, ça m'a beaucoup parlé. Du coup, merci d'être venu. Votre film parle de fantômes aussi, et j'ai vu des parallèles avec votre film, avec Marine Wacht. Et je me suis posé la question par rapport à Jeune et Jolie, si vous voyez des parallèles, parce que il y a une scène dans le film de Jeune et Jolie où elle voit son propre fantôme quand elle fait l'amour pour la première fois sur la plage. Et ici, de façon esthétique, les fantômes sont traités de façon très différente, mais il y a aussi cette thématique de fantômes qui m'a beaucoup ému et m'a beaucoup parlé. Du coup, d'abord, voilà, cette question par rapport à l'esthétique des fantômes et ce que ça veut dire pour vous, et aussi pour Hélène, ce que ça voulait dire d'interpréter ce rôle avec ces fantômes. Qu'est-ce que ça vous a parlé? Qu'est-ce que ça vous a dit dans ces scènes? Comment est-ce qu'on joue quand on est face à un fantôme? Voilà, merci beaucoup.
Thank you both. When I was at school, at the lycée, I was very, very bored, and therefore I watched a lot of your films, and they really spoke to me. And especially the theme of ghosts. I can see a parallel here with Jeune et Jolie, There is a scene in Jeanne et Jolie where she sees her own ghost on the beach when she's making love for the first time. And here the ghosts are treated very, very differently, but it's obviously the same theme. There is a very specific aesthetics of ghosts. Could you talk a little bit about that? And for Hélène, can you tell us a little bit about interpreting this role where there are ghosts?
Je commence, oui. Yes, I love ghosts in movies, and I had more in mind Under the Sun, an older film I've made where Charlotte Rampling was living with the ghost of her husband. And I've always dealt with death and mourning in my movies, and in this film it was for me important to show when they are alive, it's impossible to communicate together between the mother and the daughter. The dialogue is not possible. But suddenly, when she's dead, maybe something can happen, and there is a kind of reconciliation at the end. And very often it happens in her life to reconcile with dead or ghost. So I wanted to tell that in this film.
En ce qui me concerne, puisqu'il est question du fantôme, c'est ça, de jouer avec cette idée-là. Je suis partie en intuition, comme ça, sur le fait qu'elle faisait partie de moi, qu'elle était vraiment morte, mais il y a un deuil et une séparation qui ne peut pas se faire, qui n'a pas pu se faire jusque-là. Et que donc, elle emporte sa fille morte en elle, de façon tout à fait simple, je dirais. Mais je ne sais pas du tout ce que François mettait dans cette aventure-là. Qu'est-ce qu'il voulait? Je ne sais pas, on n'en a pas vraiment parlé. Mais pour moi, c'était ça. Elle était en moi, ma fille, morte, mais là, mais d'autant plus là qu'il y a quelque chose qui n'est pas réparé, il y a quelque chose qui n'est pas qui s'est passé, qui est comme un effondrement soudain, pas voulu, mais qui en même temps, pardon parce que je continue à parler, et qui en même temps, en fait, ça tombe bien. On pourrait dire ça cyniquement. Pour Michel, ça tombe au bon moment que sa fille disparaisse. D'ailleurs, elle le dit à Marie-Claude. C'est bizarre, hein, mais depuis qu'elle est morte, je me sens plus légère. C'est assez bizarre. Mais le bizarre, moi, ça m'intéresse bien.
As for me, intuitively, I felt she was part of me as a character. Obviously, she's really dead, but there is this idea, this grief that can't really happen. And so Michelle has this dead daughter that she carries within her, in a very simple way. Obviously, I didn't have in mind specifically what François wanted. We didn't necessarily talk about it ahead of time. But very obviously, there is also this broken, this unrepaired thing there, and there is obviously this tragedy that happens that, cynically, one could say happens at the right time for Michelle. And as a matter of fact, she says it to Marie-Claude. She says, ever since my daughter has died, I feel a bit lighter. Isn't that strange? And strange and bizarre are things that appeal to me.
Puis en vieillissant, au fur et à mesure, il y a des fantômes qui s'installent dans nos vies. Malheureusement, ou heureusement, je ne sais pas. Mais il y a un entourage comme ça. Moi, j'en ai quelques-uns des fantômes dans ma vie.
And as we age, of course, we feel more the presence of ghosts around us, for better or for worse. And I know I have a few in my life.
Okay, yes, please. There's one at the back, and then we'll come down a few. Yeah. Oh, we'll go with you first, and then we'll go whoever was at the back there. Go ahead, please.
Bonsoir. Justement, par rapport au personnage de la fille, j'avais une question parce que j'ai eu l'impression, enfin, une des choses que j'ai ressenties en regardant le film, c'est que finalement, on a tous le droit à une seconde chance, et je crois que c'est des mots que vous dites d'ailleurs à table à un moment quand vous partagez les champignons, justement. Vous dites à votre fille, tout le monde a le droit à une seconde chance, en parlant du fils de votre ami. Et comme le personnage de la fille, très vite, on a une espèce d'antipathie qui s'installe au début. Quel est un peu comment vous réhabilitez ce personnage-là, en quoi il a le droit à une seconde chance lui aussi?
As regards the character of the daughter, I felt that when I watched it, we all deserve a second chance. And in fact, that's something that you say at the table about talking about Vincent. And obviously from the get-go, the daughter is not really likable. And so how did you give her a second chance?
I think when you discover in the film the past of Michel, you can understand better the reactions and the antipathy of the daughter. And of course, it's not an easy character, but I have the feeling to be realistic about relationship between daughter and mother. It can be very often very violent. I spoke very often with a very good friend, with a psychoanalyst, and he said to me the most neurotic relationships, it's always between mother and daughter. Because he's a man, he says that, I don't know. But, and it was for me, I know the character of Valérie is not very nice, and there was 20 years I didn't have work with Ludivine Sagnier. And when I proposed her the part, she said, "Thank you for my comeback." But I think she's very good in to develop the character and the fact she's crying, you know, when she leaves the house of her mother, you realize at this moment she's not happy with the relationship. She's upset against herself, and there is something difficult. She's suffering, actually. She's really suffering of these situations.
Okay, and then there was someone else, that in the... please.
Merci, bonsoir. Tout au long du film, il y a un doute qui plane sur le fait que Michel est impliqué dans le meurtre ou pas. Enfin, donc il y a ce doute qui est là. Est-ce que dans votre scénario, vous aviez un parti pris par rapport à ça, et comment ça vous a influencé pour ce personnage?
Throughout the film, there is this doubt about whether Michel is involved or not in the murder. Did you have a specific idea about it, and how did you go about it?
I have some ideas, yes, but I didn't want to share my ideas with the audience. I wanted to let you free to judge as you want the characters, and of course, when I wrote the script, I know exactly what happened. Especially on the balcony, I know what happened, but I decided not to show the scene. And I think it was good to put the audience at the place of Michel. You know, she's not there, she doesn't know exactly what happened, and actually she doesn't want to know what happened. She prefers to put the dust under the carpet. And it's up to you to think what really happened in this scene, and Michel, is it guilty or not? Isabelle Huppert, who saw the film, told me something which is, I think, really the soul of the film. She said it's a film about unconscious, and I think it's about the unconscious of the character of Michel.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more. There was, that one on the end with your arm right up there at the back. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup François, merci Hélène d'être venue.
Il n'y a que des French?
Je pense que oui, parce qu'on est à côté du lycée, mais surtout parce que je crois que je parle au nom de tous, que pour la génération de francophones et de Français qui aiment le cinéma, vous êtes une très grande référence, Monsieur François. Et je voudrais vous demander, parce que pour moi, il y a une chose de vos films que je n'arrive pas à les classifier. ils sont très inclassifiables. Vous jouez avec les genres et si vous devriez vous classifier vous-même, à quel type de cinéma vous appartenez et surtout à quel type de cinéma vous appartenez maintenant par rapport au cinéma français qui est venu avant vous? Merci.
Bah, je me classifie pas justement. C'est le. Ah pardon.
Thank you very much. And in the name of a whole generation of French and French-speaking Francophiles, thank you for being here and thank you for it. You do play a lot with different genres. So if I can ask you, what type of cinema do you think you belong to within French cinema?
I don't. Je me classifie pas. Je sais pas. On sait se dire en anglais ça? I don't classify myself. It's the job of the critics. So you can answer for me if you want.
He's very eclectic.
Voilà.
What can you say?
Exactly.
Let me ask, Hélène, let me ask you one last question. You have worked with so many great directors. You've worked with Tavernier, Diane Curis, Colin Serrault, Téchiné, Chéreau, etc., and you've been a director yourself on stage. So you're obviously very attentive to exactly what it is that directors do. How would you classify François as a director on the set? What does he actually do that is his directing style on set?
Comment classifieriez-vous le type de cinéma de François?
Qu'est-ce qui est spécifiquement ozonien?
Alors, eh ben, je dirais que François, j'emploierais pas le mot diriger, mais j'emploierais le mot guider et accompagner. Ce qui me semble plus juste parce que ces indications sont serrées comme ça. C'est pas des grandes explications de texte. On ne plonge pas dans la psychanalyse et dans la psychologie tous les matins avant de partir tourner. Il dit des choses extrêmement simples, mais les choses complètement simples, pardon, hein, vous m'arrêtez, quand elles s'ajoutent au fur et à mesure des jours, ce qui était au départ très simple, en fait se révèle, par la façon dont François nous fait travailler, se révèle incroyablement complexe, obscur parfois. Et j'ai eu l'impression d'être tout à fait acceptée et entourée d'une confiance que j'avais, je crois, jamais éprouvée à ce point-là. J'ai connu beaucoup de directeurs qui dirigeaient, voire fermement, voire très fermement, mais cette complicité presque organique qui vient peut-être aussi du fait que François cadre, qu'il est à la caméra, c'est-à-dire qu'on joue ensemble, on est ensemble, il n'est pas quelque part par là et nous, entre comédiens, on est là. Non, on est ensemble et on danse ensemble quelque part, je dirais ça. Donc voilà, je dirais qu'il s'agirait plutôt d'un accompagnement très subtil, mais très tenu, plutôt que d'une direction que je ne saurais pas trop qualifier d'ailleurs.
Wow, big
Bonne
question.
chance.
So, François doesn't really direct. He rather guides us. He accompanies us through the journey. He doesn't explain much either. It's not like we had a psychoanalysis session every morning, first thing before shooting. He says things in a very, very simple way, but all those simple things do add up. And day after day, they build up towards something that is actually more complex, sometimes even obscure. But throughout, I felt I was accepted, surrounded, and trusted like never before. I have worked with directors like directed really firmly, and here it was way more organic. And of course, François is behind the camera, so it feels like we are dancing together, we are acting together, we're really a team. And so I would say that, no, he's not a director like others. He does accompany us in a very, very subtle and inqualifiable way.
Great. Well, it's a wonderful film, and it will be released by Parkland on the 21st, so Friday week. Spread the word. I would like to thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank you, Axel, for translating. Thank you, Hélène Vincent. Thank you, François Ozon. And good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.